You've done everything for her, but it's still not enough. I get it, man. You've been there, showing up, proving you care, doing things most guys wouldn't even think of. You made her a priority, gave her your time, your energy, and maybe even parts of yourself you've never given to anyone else. And still, she's slipping away. It doesn't make sense, does it? You thought love was about effort, about showing up, about making her feel special. But here you are, watching her lose interest, and no matter what you do, it feels like you're pushing her farther away instead of drawing her in. Here's the truth. You can't convince someone to love you by overgiving. That's not how attraction works. The more you make her the center of your world, the less she values you. Once she feels she has you completely, no challenge, no mystery, no space to even miss you, she stops desiring you and starts tolerating you. If this sounds familiar, don't worry. I'm about to break down why this happens and how you can flip the script. The issue isn't that you're not good enough. It's that you're giving too much, too soon, and in the wrong way. Let's fix that. For those of you still asking about the course, it's gone. As I've said before, it's no longer available. You missed your shot to grab one of the 100 spots. That's on you. When it reopens, there will be fewer spots available and they'll go fast. So if you want in, you better move quickly because the opportunity is not waiting around for you. Be fast or stay out. Point 1. Stop over pursuing. Man, I know it feels like the right thing to do, showing her how much you care, always being available, proving your worth. But let me tell you something. Chasing too hard only pushes people away. You might think the more you give, the more she'll appreciate you, but that's not how attraction works. If you're always there, always showing up, always giving her your time and energy, you risk becoming someone she can take for granted instead of someone she's excited to keep. Take the story of Jake and Emily. They met at a mutual friend's party, and it was one of those instant connections. They were drawn to each other immediately, chatting effortlessly, laughing at the same jokes, and just enjoying each other's presence. For the first few weeks, things were great. Texts were flowing, plans to hang out were being made, and they seemed to be on the same page. But Jake, feeling like he was falling for Emily, didn't want to risk losing her, so he put her on a pedestal. He always responded to her messages immediately, planning surprise dates and sending thoughtful gifts. Every time she mentioned something she liked, Jake took note and surprised her with it, hoping it would show her how much he cared. Jake genuinely thought he was doing everything right. He thought that the more he gave, the more Emily would appreciate him. But what he didn't realize was that by constantly putting her on a pedestal and making her his sole focus, he was actually losing his value in her eyes. Emily didn't need to work for his attention anymore. He was always available, always there, always proving his worth. As time passed, Emily started to pull away. It wasn't obvious at first, just small signs. She'd take longer to respond to his texts, not be as enthusiastic about making plans, and when they did hang out, she seemed a little distant. Jake didn't pick up on these subtle cues at first. He was too focused on trying to keep the momentum going, trying to keep her attention. But the more he tried, the more distant she became. Jake couldn't understand it. He'd been so thoughtful, so attentive, so patient. Why wasn't she reciprocating? Why wasn't she as invested as he was? Finally, it hit him when Emily sat him down one evening. Jake, I really like you, but I need space. I feel like you're smothering me. I feel like I'm always the center of your world, and it's overwhelming. I need you to focus on your own life too. Jake was devastated. He didn't see it coming. He thought that his constant presence and attention would make her fall for him harder, but Emily had begun to feel like there was no challenge left. Jake was always available, always there, and when someone is always around, always putting you first, you don't have to put in any effort to make them care. There's no chase, no mystery. She didn't have to wonder if Jake would be there. He always would be. And when she realized this, she started pulling away. You see, relationships work on balance. If you're always available, always showing up, always putting someone on a pedestal, they start to take you for granted. You stop being someone they desire and become someone they tolerate. Jake had shown her how much he cared, but by over pursuing, he took away the mystery and made it too easy for her. Look at what happened in Jake and Emily's case. She started to feel like she didn't need to make any effort. She could take him for granted because Jake was always around, always giving. But in reality, what Emily craved was someone who had his own life, someone who wasn't constantly putting her at the center of his world, a man with purpose. When Jake didn't make her work for his time, he unintentionally showed her that he didn't have anything else going on, nothing else that was important outside of her, and that, my friend, made him less valuable in her eyes. Now, I'm not saying you should play games or be emotionally unavailable, but there's a huge difference between being there for someone and overgiving. When you give too much too soon, it can overwhelm the other person, even if they like you. It's about creating space for attraction to grow. You need to be someone she has to invest in as much as you do. You need to be a bit of a mystery, someone who's not always available and always giving. By creating some distance, you let her appreciate your value. And if she's truly interested, she'll move toward you. If not, then you'll know she was never really interested in the first place. So, stop over pursuing. Step back. Let her feel your absence and see if she comes toward you. If she doesn't, don't waste your time chasing someone who isn't invested. The right person will appreciate your presence, and if she doesn't, it's a clear sign that you were putting your energy into someone who wasn't right for you. Point 2. You need to be unforgettable, not replaceable. Bro, let me ask you a question. When was the last time you actually stopped and thought about the air you breathe? Probably never, right? It's just there. Always constant, always around. You don't even notice it because you don't have to. It's never something you feel you need to appreciate because it's always available, always at your disposal. Now, think about this. When's the last time you paused to admire a sunset you barely caught or heard a song that instantly took you back to a moment you can never relive again? Or better yet, think about that one person you lost, the one you can't seem to forget no matter how much time has passed. That's the difference between being replaceable and being unforgettable. The things that stick with us, the ones that leave a mark, are never the ones that are always in front of us. They're the things that are fleeting, the moments, or people that make us stop and appreciate them because they're rare. Let's talk about you now. If you're always available, always texting back within seconds, always putting her first, always being the one who's always there, you become background noise. You become predictable. Comfortable, yes, but ultimately forgettable. You're like the air in the room that no one thinks about until it's no longer there. The truth is, when you make yourself that available, you lose your value. You stop being something she wants and start being something she expects. And once she starts expecting you, the magic fades. Now, let's flip the script. Think about the women you still remember. The ones that stuck with you even after things ended. The ones that made you question everything. Who made you feel like you had to earn their attention. Why are they still in your mind? Why can't you let them go? It's because they weren't easy to have. They weren't always at your beck and call. They had their own lives, their own priorities, and they made sure you knew that. They weren't constantly available to you, and that made you value them more. That's exactly the approach you need to take. You need to be the one who isn't easily replaceable, the one who's unforgettable. Be the guy who has his own life, his own purpose, his own mission that doesn't revolve around her. When you make your life so fulfilling, so rich with experience that she has to earn a spot in it, that's when you become unforgettable. That's when you shift from being someone she takes for granted to someone she fears losing. Here's the bottom line. You can either be the guy she takes for granted, the guy she knows will always be there no matter what, or you can be the guy who's got his life together, who has options, who's busy building his own future. You can be the one who walks away when she doesn't show up, and that's scarcity. That's what makes you valuable. A man with purpose, a man with ambition, a man whose life doesn't revolve around her is the man who catches her attention. She needs to feel like if she doesn't step up, someone else will. Because trust me, when she sees that, when she realizes that she's just a part of your world and not the center of it, that's when you become unforgettable. You stop being the air she breathes and start being the sunset she can't get enough of. Point 3. Women want a man who can walk away. Listen, man, let me be crystal clear about something. The strongest position you can ever have in any relationship is the ability to walk away. And no, this isn't arrogance. It's called self-respect. It's knowing your worth and never compromising it, no matter how much you care about someone. The moment you start begging for love, over-explaining yourself, or hanging around waiting for her to decide if you're worthy of her time, you've already lost. That's not how this works, and deep down, you know it. Let's take a quick look at history. The men who were admired, the ones women couldn't get enough of, weren't the ones running after women. They were the ones who were chased. Why? Because they had options. They knew their value. They weren't out here pleading, begging, or trying to convince anyone of their worth. They let their actions speak for themselves. And if a woman didn't recognize that, if she didn't see their value, they moved on. It wasn't even a question. They didn't waste time trying to force someone to love them. Now, let's bring that to your reality. If she's pulling away, playing games, making you question your worth, don't chase after her. Don't start obsessing over why she's distant or send her that extra text to clear the air. Don't sit there wondering if she's thinking about you. Because here's the hard truth. If you have to convince someone to want you, they don't actually want you. Period. You shouldn't be in a position where you're trying to convince someone to appreciate you. A woman doesn't want a man who needs her. What she craves is a man who chooses her, but can just as easily walk away if she's not bringing the same energy. Think about it. If she's pulling away, not putting in effort, or treating you like an afterthought, she needs to feel like you're not just gonna sit around and wait for her. She needs to feel that if she doesn't step up, you'll move forward without her, like a train with no brakes, relentlessly moving forward, no matter what. That's what makes you valuable. That's what creates the attraction. The moment she realizes that you're a man who doesn't need her, but chooses her because you value her, that's when you shift the power dynamic. You've got to stop being afraid of walking away. The ability to do that is what puts you in a position of strength. It's about maintaining your dignity and never losing yourself in the process of trying to win someone over. When you show that you're not afraid to walk away if things aren't right, you create an irresistible aura of self-sufficiency and respect. Women are drawn to strength, to confidence, to men who have the backbone to stand tall and say, I know my worth, and if you can't meet me at my level, I'm out. And here's the kicker. If she sees that you're someone who can walk away, someone who isn't afraid to cut ties when necessary, she'll respect you more. She'll know that you're not someone who'll be taken for granted. She'll see that she's got to earn your attention and respect, and trust me, that's gonna make her want you even more. Women want a man who has options, who has a life outside of her, and who isn't afraid to walk away when things aren't right. That's what gives you real power in any relationship. Point 4. Emotional control is everything. Listen, man, I need you to understand this. The second you lose control of your emotions, you lose control of the situation. It sounds simple, but it's so critical. Women are not drawn to a guy who crumbles under pressure, who lets his emotions run wild. No, they're drawn to a guy who stays grounded, who remains solid no matter what chaos may be going on around him. That's what separates the men who are constantly chasing validation from the ones who exude true confidence. I've seen it happen 100 times. A guy starts getting really into a girl, everything seems great, and then suddenly she pulls back. She starts acting distant, maybe a little cold, and instead of keeping his cool, he starts freaking out. He begins texting her non-stop, overthinking every single word she says, analyzing every moment, trying to fix something that's probably not even broken. And here's the worst part. The more he does that, the more she pulls away. Why? Because women can sense desperation, and nothing kills attraction faster than a guy who is emotionally all over the place. You may think you're showing you care by texting her constantly, but all she's really feeling is your neediness. And that, my friend, is a major turnoff. Now let me contrast that with another kind of guy. The guy who knows how to keep his composure when a woman pulls away. He doesn't react emotionally. Instead of losing his mind, he stays grounded, keeps his cool. He doesn't chase after her, doesn't send message after message trying to fix things. He continues to focus on his life, his goals, his own growth. He stays confident in his own value. And here's the kicker. More often than not, she comes back. Why? Because she realizes that he's not emotionally dependent on her. She starts to see that his happiness doesn't revolve around her. He's complete as he is. And guess what? That's incredibly attractive. Here's the real lesson. Women are drawn to strength, to emotional maturity. If you lose your emotional control, if you start begging for attention or desperately trying to fix things that aren't broken, you lose your value in her eyes. She sees you as weak, as emotionally unstable, and that's not someone she can respect. But when you show that you can stay calm, that your worth isn't tied to her approval, that you're not living in emotional chaos, that's when you become the kind of man she can respect. And respect leads to attraction. The next time you feel that urge to react, to overtext, to try and fix things in a panic, I need you to stop. Breathe, take a step back, walk away for a moment. If she truly values you, she'll feel your absence. She'll realize what she's losing, and it will click for her. But if she doesn't even notice that you're gone, then she was never really yours in the first place. In those moments, the best thing you can do is hold your emotional ground. Be the man who knows his worth and doesn't need to chase after anyone. That's what makes you powerful. That's what makes you the man women want. Point 5. The key to keeping her interest. Live your life like you mean it. Let me give it to you straight. The moment you make a woman the center of your world, you lose everything that makes you you. And when you lose yourself, you not only lose your sense of purpose, but you also lose her respect. Women are wired to be attracted to men who have their own life, their own passions, their own direction. If you're out here revolving around her every need and want, constantly seeking her validation, you're unknowingly creating distance. You might think that showering her with affection and attention will make her stay, but here's the reality. When you make her the center of your universe, you're robbing her of the chance to see your value. You lose your mystery, and without that, attraction fades. Think about it. Have you ever met a guy who naturally attracts women, almost effortlessly? Does he have some secret trick or magic words? Nope. What he has is a focus that doesn't rely on anyone else's approval. This guy is constantly pushing himself, physically, mentally, and emotionally. He's chasing his goals, leveling up, improving every aspect of his life, not to impress anyone, but to build something that's truly his. And women notice this energy. It's magnetic. Why? Because it exudes self-assurance. It radiates confidence and purpose, things that women respect deeply. Women want a man who has his own life, a man who is constantly moving forward, whether they're there to support him or not. They don't want a man who is waiting around for them to complete him. They want someone who's already whole. Now, here's the catch. When you're building a life that's so full, so dynamic, she actually has to earn a place in it. She has to prove herself worthy of being a part of your journey. This is not about playing hard to get. It's about having a life that is so fulfilling that you're not willing to sacrifice it for anything. So instead of obsessing over her, start obsessing over yourself. Dive deep into your passions, your career, and your physical health. Invest time in learning new skills, gaining new experiences, and traveling to places that will expand your perspective. Build a life that's so compelling that she can't help but want to be a part of it. And here's the real beauty of this. When you focus on becoming the best version of yourself, you stop caring whether she comes back or not. That's not to say you don't care about her, but you stop waiting on her for validation or approval. You're no longer chasing her or giving her all of your attention and energy in the hopes she'll notice. And the best part? That's exactly when she does notice you. When you stop chasing, that's when she begins to see your true value. Why? Because you're not just giving her everything you've got, your energy, your time, your heart. You're living for yourself first, and that makes you valuable. That makes her realize, if I want to be a part of his life, I need to step up. You become a prize to be won, not someone she takes for granted. But don't get it twisted. This isn't about games, manipulation, or using some sort of strategy to get her to want you. It's about understanding that the real prize here isn't her, it's you. When you realize that you are worthy and that your life, your purpose, and your mission come first, that's when the magic happens. Women are drawn to strength, to independence, and to a man who values his own worth. When you make yourself a priority, you naturally attract the right energy and people into your life. At the end of the day, you have two choices. You can keep chasing her, keep begging, keep getting lost in every little thing she says or does. You can keep handing over your power, hoping she'll finally recognize your worth. Or you can step up and become the man who doesn't need to chase. The man who has so much going for him that women can't help but take notice. The man who's on his own mission, building a life so full that anyone lucky enough to be a part of it needs to earn their spot. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Don't be lazy. Hit that subscribe button and stay sharp. I've got something big coming soon, so you don't want to miss it. Catch you in the next one. Be ready.